Hi, good afternoon. I'm the Hedge writer. And this afternoon I'm going to talk about tarot and oracle divination cards. I'm going to go through some of my decks and just talk a little bit about tarot and oracle decks and some of the differences between the traditional decks and some of the newer styles that are out there today. So I have my favorite deck out first. It is a chakra oracle card. This is what the put that up there towards the camera. The back looks like, and then some of the artwork. Oh, impartiality is up there. Make sure you can see that. And I've laid out the 7 cards at the 7 places of each of the chakra energy centers. If you're not familiar with the chakra energy centers, there are 7 of them. They run up your spine. Some people say chakra, some people say chakra. I say chakra. The first one we start with is going to be the color red, the root chakra. The card here that we have is the renewal card. As you can see, it's a beautiful card there. Hopefully it's not too much light on. And at its place, I have set a piece of carnelian. And we move up to the next chakra, which is the sacral chakra. The color is orange, and here I have one of the orange sacral chakra cards, Passion. All right. Here we go. And next, we have the solar plexus chakra. The color is yellow. I have a nice card here, Joy. Such a pretty card with those sunflowers. All right, there we go. Piece of citrine. And sitting at the heart chakra here, which lies at our heart center, I chose the card Growth, green. And green or pink at the heart center is okay. I use pink. I have a nice piece of rose quartz. It's kind of hard to catch that pink color in this lighting, but I like to keep that nice, soft, gentle energy there at the heart space. And then next we have the throat chakra. And here I have expansion. We talk about our voice, the things that we speak, words to ourselves and words to others. And at the throat chakra, a piece of sodalite. There you go. All right, and then moving up into our brow, our third eye chakra, the card of mysticism. The color is a darker indigo color. I really like this card, shrouded in mysticism, and a beautiful piece of amethyst there. Hopefully the light can pick those up. And then sitting at the crown chakra, I have a really nice card. This particular deck has gray at the color creation. Beautiful card right there. Hopefully you can see that in the light. And then I have a nice piece of crackle quartz, which really picks up the rainbow colors. Hopefully you can see those, and I'm not holding those up too high so you can't see them. So as I read through these cards, while I do have the actual deck set with each coordinating color at each one of the chakras, when we do a traditional read with this, any color can sit at any one of the chakras. I will do a sample here. I just wanted to explain that not necessarily do these cards lie there, but they do represent each one of the chakra energy centers that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and pick these up and then do a quick shuffle. Taking the cards together. And how you shuffle is up to you. Everybody does it just a little bit different. I tend to be as gentle as possible and treat my cards with respect and care, making sure they last a little bit longer, but also respecting the energies that are around them. I also like to store them with some cleansing stones. A lot of times I'll put something like a piece of obsidian and a piece of quartz, just two opposing energies there, very clear and cleaning, and then also grounding to keep those together. And again, then clean them, especially when I'm using them a lot. All of these decks that we're going to go through this afternoon are my public decks. They're the ones that I do readings with for other people. I do have some private decks. Those are just mine that I use here at home for myself. I will show you which one of those decks I do for that. So with the final shuffle, if I was having someone sit across from me and do a reading for them. What I would then do when I was done shuffling and I felt like I was to the point where I was that I needed to be with the cards, then I would cut the deck and go ahead, or I would ask them to cut the deck and then go ahead and myself take them together and then lay them down in this particular pattern that I'm going to lay them down. So we start at the root again here. And because I'm reading this for kind of me, I'm just doing a general reading. I'm going to start with the root chakra towards me and then the crown furthest away from me. So if I was doing a reading for someone else or for you, the root chakra would sit towards you and then the crown chakra would sit towards me, the furthest point away from you. I've only had one time come up in a reading where I've done it backwards. Most of the time, it feels right to me, that intuition, it feels right to me to lay these cards down closest to the person first and then furthest away last with this particular reading. Now, there's so many different layouts, and we'll get to those as we come into some of the more traditional decks. Right now, this chakra oracle deck I'm doing in a fashion that is totally my own way and my own interpretation. As I encourage you to always follow your intuition. Now, before we started, I should touch base. Smudging is very important. We want to use some type of sage or a mixture of sage and something, or Palo Santo, or whatever it is that you use to cleanse your space. Cleanse your space, cleanse yourself, cleanse your deck before you use it, before each time. And then again, store it with some of your crystals, and only you know the answer to what stones go in with which deck. Some of them might be a little different than others. So back to this reading, I'm going to go ahead, and now that I've shuffled and I've gone ahead and I'm ready now to go ahead and do the reading, I'm going to start at the root chakra. Ooh, this will be an interesting reading. Be careful what you wish for, huh? Coming up throat chakra, coming up to our brow, third eye, and ultimately into our crown chakra. All right. So let's see what the cards have to say. I'm going to set that deck over there as we move through this side of the table. I'm going to start shifting things down to the other end to make more room. But starting here at the root chakra, there is some powerful energy here. And being mindful in an overview, actually, before I bring that card up to the camera, I'm going to go ahead and just do a general overview, which is the first thing that I would do in a normal setting. Sometimes doing the podcast throw me off just a little bit in my sequence of events. So as we look, I see a crown chakra card sitting at the root chakra card, which a lot of times means, well, get your head out of your rear end. I guess this isn't made for kids, so I can swear. So get your head out of your ass. I've got a crown chakra card down here in my root chakra, and then I have a blue card sitting at my sacral chakra, which is our feelings, and then we have a matching card here, a yellow card, a solar plexus card, which is actions, sitting at the yellow spot. It's in its spot. Luckily, it's a beautiful card of abundance. Hopefully that's positive abundance and not gathering negative abundance, right? We don't want to harbor anything like that. And then it looks like I have a sacral chakra card sitting in the heart, which is the card of service, a beautiful card there. The root chakra sitting at the throat chakra, another root chakra card sitting at the brow, the third eye chakra, and then a third eye and a brow sitting in the crown. So at least some of these are closer to where they should be. So this shows there's a lot of imbalance here, and to be quite honest, I've had that in my life recently. A lot of this upheaval has caused a lot of imbalance within my life, and it's been difficult to seek that. So looking at these cards and interpreting them is is pretty easy to understand for me. Needing to release is the first card in my root chakra, that's for sure. And this might be a good one for all of us. What do we need to release of who we are? Releasing the things that no longer serve us. Behaviors, thought processes, habits, what other types of things are we holding on to of the root chakra and the root of who we are that we can release? I know I myself have some things that I most certainly can release. So that's a good reminder to do so. Now, moving into my sacral chakra, I have the throat chakra card of the what was that? Patience. Imagine that. Oh, if my mother's watching, she would know. So my throat chakra is sitting in my feelings center. The sacral chakra, as you know, is where our feelings tend to reside. That energy that drives our feelings, just below our action center, which is our solar plexus. But we're talking about our sacral. And when we think about that sacral, and we think about impatience and our feelings, there's a lot of that I think that's going on in this world in general, a lot of impatience within ourselves and mainly with ourselves. And I know that's another good reminder for me to pause and have that patience. On Tuesday, at about 1:30 in the afternoon, my whole entire computer system crashed, and I am also in the middle on one of my other channels and actually on my one of my Facebook pages for yoga. I'm doing an event series, a live event series, and all of my writings for that series and all of my writings actually for this channel and for a few other things I've been working on were lost. And surrendering to that moment at some of those things that I've kind of been talking about in yoga, surrendering to that and having that patience with myself more than anything, because my goodness, that was a pretty serious thing to go through. So another good reminder here, having patience in our feelings, with our feelings, and most importantly within ourselves, have some of that patience. Abundance in actions. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this card up to see the abundance card. Hopefully these are coming across okay and you're not getting too much of a glare. What can be a beautiful card, but also can be a card, another card for awareness. And we think of too much abundance or lack of abundance when really we have a lot. Another good reminder for me as I've been kind of going through some of this shift. My jobs in the outside world are in the world of floristry and also teaching yoga and things that now are, the flower side of things was mainly for events. So it wasn't a traditional flower shop. And as we know, that there's not a lot of events going on. So that side has kind of quieted and, making sure that we take care of ourselves and having an abundance sometimes monetarily is what we need just to keep a roof over our head, food on our table, our bills paid, those types of our actual needs that we need sustained. But when we shift our state of mind, our perspective, I guess is what I was looking for. And we go ahead and we acknowledge the abundance of things that we actually do have in our lives. It does make those actions easier, and it also opens up when we're not holding on and focusing on just one thing. We get to see the bigger picture. Things become more clear to ourselves, and it all just kind of becomes a little bit more okay. We find that contentment. We're able to find a little bit more happiness. So with that abundance, it can go both ways. We can think of that as a lack of abundance. Oh my gosh, I'm missing. Or we can be reminded of how much abundance we really do have in our lives. And then moving into our heart chakra card, we see the card of service, a beautiful card. They're taking care of it looks like an elderly woman, someone in need, clearly, and being of service. Is sitting right there at the heart chakra. And we also see this yellow card, this action card, solar plexus, that comes with those actions that are a lot of times driven by our feelings, driven by our emotions, driven by who we are, those lower chakras working up their way, kind of connecting as they go and building those building blocks and the foundations of who we are. And when we sit here and we look at this beautiful card of service, again, we can look at the positive aspects of that and make sure that we have an open heart to serve others and serve ourselves, but also not to get lost in that service sometimes, that outward service. We need to make sure we're reserving some of that for ourselves. As I do say many times, you put that oxygen mask on first before you can help others with theirs. So we must do that self-care. We must fill our cup up and help others from a place of a full reserve rather than empty reserve. So another good reminder there. Another great card sitting at the throat chakra. Maybe with the root chakra, maybe a little reminder of some of our lower chakras, who we are coming up into. I will hold this closer to the camera. Up into our speak, maybe even into our speech, as we know our throat chakra, the words, the things that we say to ourselves and say to others. And maybe some of that self-talk is a little bit of complacency there for me, as I've struggled with some of these technical issues over the last couple of weeks, putting together all the pieces to be able to do these podcasts. I'm most certainly not a technical person, and it has challenged me in some of those ways. But it's been a lot of fun. It definitely is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. Beyond the challenge, it really has become a lot of fun to figure out what I'm going to do for these podcasts and be out here to be able to share my work. I miss being able to do in-person classes with everyone, and I most certainly miss being able to see everyone's smiles and faces and be able to have their comments and questions as we go along. So we move up into our brow chakra next, and another root chakra, another red card here. Discovery in the brow chakra. This is where our seat of wisdom sits. It's really our self-knowledge, the knowledge of who we really are, and the discovery that's been going on with that. It is an ongoing process, and I speak a lot about that on some of my other channels, and about that self-discovery and finding yourself of who you really are, and the discovery of that wisdom, especially on a spiritual side, is such a wonderful thing. Kind of removing some of those shrouds of mysticism that stand sometimes between who we are and who we think we are. But we're one and all the same. We really are just spiritual and energetic beings in a human body, having a human experience along the way. So then we come down to such a very, very pretty card, a card of gratitude, and a card that actually does definitely sit at the brow in the wisdom that we have with gratitude, and gratitude for community, gratitude for self, for friends, for family, gratitude all around. Be grateful and be content with what you have. Be happy. Right? And that's pretty much what we're all seeking, is that state of unity as we talk about it over in yoga. So a really nice reading here. You can see we move through all 7 chakras, kind of relating them to what I'm going through in my experiences. I hope that maybe brought some insight to you as well. Always just make sure and be aware when you're pulling cards for yourself on live TV that you're prepared to talk about whatever it is that are your self-truths, because the cards will make you see. And that's exactly what I think that tarot and oracle cards are. Take away any of the woo-woo that you think may go on with it, or actually put all of that magic into it, because magic is what you make of it. But at the end of the day, we use these as a guide. We use these cards to help ourselves be able to acknowledge things that, we may not be able to see otherwise. We're holding that mirror up in front of ourselves and who we are. Before we begin, also not only just smudging ourselves, but we also want to talk to our guides, to any other guides that we attach to our cards. Some cards may hold different energy sets that go along with what it is that you're reading. My chakra cards most certainly hold the rainbow and hold a full spectrum. The power of them is a lot different than some of my other cards that I'm going to go through. So we will, and I also am going to pull out my runes at the very end so you can see my beautiful Palo Santo runes. I hoped you could smell them, but we don't have smell-o-vision yet. So my chakra oracle cards I'm going to go ahead and set aside, and I'm also going to go ahead and collect up my stones. I have a very beautiful box that was given to me by my sister on one of my birthdays. It is very pretty. Thank you, Amy. And I keep all of my stones for my chakras cards and set in here. And it's a nice little case, and I encourage you to find some nice little pieces to store your cards in and travel with them. I travel with all these decks, so, well, I don't anymore. I used to travel a lot with these decks when we could all move around and gather in places. So I have a really nice little carrying case here that keeps them all together for that set. And then the next set I think we'll go through is the Easy deck. And it's just a gilded tarot. And there's the back of the cards. And we'll go ahead and show some of the artwork on those. There you go. All right. And I have a nice little bag here. Actually, I think I probably got this at Goodwill for 25 cents maybe a year or two ago. Nice little bag that's been saged and cleaned and has good vibes, and I keep a couple of stones in there with my cards. And this is my traditional, like a Rider-Waite deck. So it's going to have the major arcana, the minor arcana, and it does go through the traditional cards. You can read. Oh, I bet you can't see that. Go ahead and turn that around. Make sure my arms work. There you go. That's a beautiful card there. So you can read however you'd like to read. I do a lot of times the Celtic Cross with these when I'm reading for other people. This is also a deck that I would pull for if I was going to do a Wheel of the Year or a year spread or some type of more in-depth reading for someone. A lot of times I will leave it up to who I'm doing a reading for as to what deck I use. Either they will indicate right away, no, please use, can I please have a chakra reading? Or they might be open. And I just follow my intuition and I follow my own guides, my own helpers that are with me. And then the right one calls out and we go through that one and they end up getting the knowledge and the guidance that they need to help themselves through whatever it is. That's why we use the cards again, is to help guide us through some of those questions that we have in life. Sometimes I'll also do just a 3-card draw. I am one who doesn't really believe in upside down cards. I also don't really believe that there's negative in the cards. I mean, there's always negative. I don't mean there's not negative, but I don't feel like there's any ominous energy that comes through the cards of telling a future or any of the fortune telling ideas that people have sometimes with reading the cards. It's your interpretation. And if you're a good reader, you should always be reading in a positive aspect. It's almost like you really are holding the mirror up for someone, past, present, future. We'll go ahead and pull up. There's a King of Wands, right? So we see this card now. If I was reading, then I would take this card, and obviously we know that kings usually represent some type of male energy as a person, right? So the fire energy behind a wand. So then I would ask the client if they, or myself, right? I would ask myself, all right, who might this stand for, especially in the past, in relating to whatever question it is. Sometimes I simply just ask, what do I need to be shown, or what do I need to see? Because a lot of times that's what I need, is just for the cards to throw some stuff out there and say, hey, you know, you're running around in circles, and this is where you need to put your attention to. And that's sometimes just what we need, and what we can use the cards for. So as we go through, there's many different ways. Like I said, this is a traditional deck. I will probably put another video out there to work with each one of these decks and provide a little bit more insight for you to understand how to go through more of an in-depth reading, like a Celtic Cross or a past, present, future card or a reading. So I'm going to go ahead and put these beautiful cards, some of my favorites, over here. All right, and I'm going to pull out the White Witch Tarot. Now, I'll tell you, this artwork is really what caught my eye. And I was working at a metaphysical store. I've worked at a couple over my life. This was one of the most recent places I worked. I saw this. It came in, and I said, oh, I have to have it. It was absolutely amazing. Back of the cards look like this. This is just the major arcana. So as we look at this artwork, it is, oh, the Fool. Perfect. It really is just beautiful. And I use these a lot of times in a quick reading. What I have used this deck the most for actually is for my shadow work series. So those that have gone through my shadow work series and have gone through at the end of each one of our sessions, we sometimes, I should say not at the end of each, but we'll sometimes at the end of our sessions go through and draw a few cards to just help reflect and to help provide some guidance into whatever it is that we've been talking about, whichever part of that session it is. But it's a really nice kind of grab and go. It's a short deck. Like I said, it's just the majors. So it's a really nice kind of powerful, quick reading deck. And then I have this amazing I really, really like this. The cards are a little big for my hand, and sometimes that is really important, especially when we order decks online or we order anything online that we can't actually touch, feel, hold it, to know how big the cards are. Even sometimes when we see the measurements, it's not quite the same as having them in our hands. And I got this deck of medicine cards. Another Goodwill find, I have to say, a charity shop find. It didn't come with a book. So as I have worked more and more with this deck, I've built my own interpretation. I have found some guides out there. I can't order the book online, but the more I started working for I will show you that really nice eagle on the front. Once I started actually working with the deck, it became very clear to me. And this I use a lot for a past, present, future spread. A little bit more of a fun, look at that. Each one of the charms on the bottom of each card is just a little different. There's the dog, you'll see. And I use those little charms at the bottom to, just like some of the visualizations of some of the cards, as we start to talk a little deeper about what the artwork on the cards represent and what they mean in that illustration. I use those as well to help me be able to interpret the energy coming off of that card. And it's just like some of those brain games that you see. What three words do you see first, in a cluster of words? It's kind of the same when we're reading cards. What are the three main things that come off of this card at you? And those are the things that we would pull, because at that moment in time, that's what we're being guided to either tell someone, or that's what we're being guided for ourselves to understand, depending on who it is that we're reading for, or what we're reading, right? So this was just an amazing deck. I really like the animal energy. It's a fun one to do. And sometimes we just need a little bit of animal power in our lives. So I'm going to go ahead and set that back up there as well. And then those are basically the 4 main decks that I read with for public readings. Like I said, my other main deck that I have is the other more traditional, like a Rider Tarot, and it's the Gilded Tarot. Easy Tarot, I believe, is the name of the book. And then I do have one set of runes, mainly because they smell so good. They're in Palo Santo. And you can find runes in any kind of material, all different kinds of stones: amethyst, moonstone, labradorite, rose, really basically anything that you're looking for. But I really like the rawness, and I'm just going to throw some of these. I really like the rawness of the Palo Santo, and the smell is divine. I'm a really big fan. So as we look at our little runes, might take a minute for that to focus. I'm not sure. These are really small. I'm still learning them, so I can't sit here and do a reading yet with them. I am still working on that. I do for myself. I play around with them. And I like to take them with me. I like for them to travel in my bag. I have a little bag that I keep all of my little travel bag. Everything comes in here. It's just a little cosmetics bag, and I can fit every single one of my travel pieces and all my stones in here, and it's a really great little bag. And I encourage you to pick up some of these pieces, or even use pieces and old purses, or whatever it is that you have. I really always like to encourage that reduce, reuse, recycle, and especially when looking for some pieces, go to those charity shops. Go to the Women's Center thrift shop that might have some of those extra pieces for you, and also be able to give back into that community a little bit more as we begin to recognize the awareness of supporting our communities just a little bit more. So with runes, I have a cheat sheet. I'm not going to pull it out right now. We'll go through runes maybe another day. But I did want to touch on them. I think they're beautiful. I think they're fun. They go back in history, really, what the symbols and the sigils were used for is predates some even language and words. You know, they were used as a secret language a lot of times through the decades when there was a lot of persecution for being a natural healer. Or even just being a natural woman, you know, a lot of those times were very real and are not so distant past. And sometimes using secret language and secret symbols were what had to be done in order to keep the craft alive and also be able to stay alive for some women. So we do remember to honor them, especially as we think about how special the runes are that we use them. And, you know, I do want to get serious about that because, you know, it is those ancestors that have passed on, you know, that give us the energy, that give us the direction and guidance to where we are today. You know, we are all connected. That connection does not just end with the human beings and the human life forms that are on, or I should say all life forms, all beings that are on this earth right now in this living form. There's a lot of energetic forces out there that we can't see and we can't really begin to understand. Again, it's up to you and what your interpretation of these energies are. You can call the names of whatever you'd like, put whatever labels that you would like on them. They mean pretty much the same thing to all of us when we talk about that connection to the source, to divine. And even embedded in our DNA, we talk about our ancestors and being supported by our ancestors' energy. You know, when we start to open ourselves up to that, some of that stored data, that stored knowledge that we do have, that we're just learning about. It's amazing the things we're just learning about now that is in the unseen world. Science is an amazing thing. And integrating the old ways and the ancient teachings with some of this new technology is really exciting. But just to go back into the ancestors, as we sit here and we do look at these cards and we draw our energy and we talk about drawing the energy of building our own craft, of using and directing the universal energies that are out there to either bring us knowledge, bring us guidance, or even to help boost us. I do believe that, you know, manifestations are easy to be had when we can combine all aspects of ourselves together in a balanced and flexible way. So looking towards having that focus that we need in our manifestations moving forward. But looking at the knowledge and guidance that we get from our tarot and oracle cards, again, just a quick review, the word tarot means more of the traditional, what we think of a Rider-Waite deck with the major and the minor arcanas. There will be generally four suits of cards, much like a deck of cards. Some people even read with decks of cards. You don't need a fancy deck, although once you start, it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop buying them because there are some really pretty ones out there. But it is possible to read with a regular deck of cards, so a playing deck. So it's up to you on what calls to you and what resonates with you. I always encourage you to follow your intuition. Use what you have. If you have some things around you to use, you know, a nice cloth, light some candles, put some crystals or some stones out that might help you bring those energies to your space of whatever it is that you're creating, looking for guidance, looking for knowledge, and keeping an open mind in all of it. I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon's podcast about tarot and oracle cards, divinations, and tips right here with the Hedge Writer. I hope to see you next time. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.